Hi, folks. Thanks for tuning in to Something Not Political, question mark, exclamation point, whatever you want to put it. I'm your host, Peter Boykin, and I will be going over lots of bings and dings. I'll be going over sci-fi and comics and anything we can do that's not political. Not saying we won't talk about politics occasionally, but what better way to start this travel is to jump into our TARDIS, time and relative something space. Just like my viewers, they're bigger on the inside and not so much on the outside. But we're going to go over Doctor Who's most controversial episodes as brought to you by the Radio Times. A lot of what I'll go over is things on websites, but a lot of people don't have time to read websites all day long, so I'll try to bring in my own perspective and go over some of the articles. The great thing about most of these articles is they're not political, which is all about what we're doing. Something not political. So let's do our sort of quick intro, and I'll be right back. Peace. So, folks, as I said, this is something not political. We're talking about Doctor Who's most controversial episodes as brought to you by the Radio Times. People usually hear me talk about politics, but this is a new podcast. Something not political. We all need a break. So, we're going to look back at some of the Doctor Who shows most contentious and complicated about, or complained about moments. All is brought to you by Radio Times. And some people will go, well, I don't want to be read news. I'll go read it myself. But none of you really go out and read these articles. They do pop up. There's two types of articles that come up. Politics and sci-fi on my phone. And I'm a sci-fi buff. I like sci-fi. My mom watches sci-fi overnight long. It's all sorts of sci-fi. So we're going to look back at some of the show's most contentious and complained about moments, from unconventional casting to some downright cruelty. Now, again, whoa, wrong page. Let's get the screen right. And back over here. All right. So this is the website, Radio Times. I will be talking about what's on screen. All right. So the Doctor's lived more than 2,000 years. and not all of them were good. In fact, some of them were downright controversial. Sounds political already. From violence to unwanted phone calls, complaints have dogged Doctor Who since the earliest TARDIS strips, and some more justified than others. But which are the most complained about and controversial episodes? Which bits are likely to be left out by the 500-year diary? Here are some of the moments that caused headlines and complaints. The Time of Angels, 2010. The cliffhanger of Matt Smith's fourth episode saw the Doctor facing down an entire army of weeping angels. Weeping angels. Oh, that has to be one of the weirdest Doctor Who villain. They're stone creatures. They are like this. And if you take away your eyes from them, they're like this. That is the stone weeping angels. And Graham Norton. At the critical moment, a cartoon version of the talk show host marched out into the screen in a banner advert for talent show Over the Rainbow. Doctor Who fans were not happy, to say the least, with more than 5,000 writing in the BBC to complain. The corporation apologized and claimed that the advert had accidentally run too early, and Norton is actually a longtime enemy of the Doctor, though. Due to a similar mix-up, his voice was heard bleeding into the opening seconds of Rose, the first episode in the New Who era. So basically, everybody's in the imagine you're watching an episode and they're about to say, and the killer is Graham Norton, blah 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 cartoon. Yeah, nobody likes to be interrupted in the middle of something that's great. But it went like this. This looks like the picture. I'll have to move it over. That was the picture. No, we'll take my overlay away. But the little cartoon of them came on the bottom, right in the middle of them doing things. Kind of disrupted some stuff. So the next one is more recent. Can You Hear Me? 2020. And I'll tell you, the new Doctor Who series, I don't know what number we're on, with the Lady Doctor caused a lot of controversy and a lot of political issues. And I know we're talking about something not political, but, you know, hey, it always happens, even sci-fi. Anybody who knows sci-fi, it gets political. But while the recent series episode was applauded for tackling mental health themes, a scene toward the end where Bradley Walsh's Graham confessed his fears over his cancer returning, only to be rebuffed by the apparently indifferent Doctor, caused complaints, with some thinking Jodie Whittaker's Time Lord seemed indifferent to his fears. If anybody's been a fan of Doctor Who over the years, we understand that Doctor Who has definitely dealt with death so many times. But for someone who jumps time to time to time, I think he, she, it, whatever, he's said every person they look at is kind of a ghost. I mean, they're in their moment, but unless they're immortal, like he is, she, whatever, has seemed to be, every single person, that person, he, the Time Lord, or whatever you want to call it now, Doctor Who, runs into, is possibly a ghost. So it's kind of hard to continue to think about just exactly how you're going to feel. But however, the BBC said that it was not the intention, instead hoping that by showing the Doctor struggling to find the right words, they'd bring sympathy, just like I was trying to struggle to find the right words, for those who might find themselves in a similar situation. That's the truth. Even the Doctor doesn't have an answer for everything. And it is hard when somebody's worried about cancer coming back. It's a hard thing. It's quoted as saying, "We never set out to upset our viewers with what the show in this episode tackled some sensitive themes," according to the BBC. "The episode used dreams and nightmares to explore the inner lives of the companions. And thanks to Zellen's nightmare powers, Ryan, Yaz, and Graham were forced to confront their worst fears, many which relate to the way traveling with the Doctor has changed their lives." Again, when they leave to go travel, they're technically coming back. A lot of times they try to come back where they left, but they've actually aged. So their families sometimes, when they come back, have missed them a day. Might be a few months. But when they do come back, they kind of, let's say they screw up and they come back a few months later. Well, it kind of makes them have to unless they screw up their own timeline, they got to come back later next time. So it just kind of throws up their whole family dynamic. And you're living in two worlds. You have so much fun and hanging out and traveling with Doctor Who. But at the same time, you're missing your family. And they're in a frame. I know every time I get on an airplane and I fly one area to a next and I land, it just messes with you. It just absolutely messes with you how fast you were able to get from one place to the other, but you're in a different place in a different time. Could you imagine being in a TARDIS traveling God knows what and God knows time, and you're not even on Earth most of the time, so time probably doesn't matter that much to you, but definitely changes when you travel on Earth. Now, when Graham opened up to the Doctor about the fear of his cancer returning, her response was never meant to be dismissive, they claim. The Doctor's friend was scared, and we see her struggling to deal with the severity of the situation. Real-life struggles is something we have to deal with, sadly. The statement continued, "The intention of the scene was to acknowledge how hard it can be to deal with controversies on the subject matter. When faced with these situations, people don't always have the right words to say at the right time, and this can often lead to feelings of guilt." And I'll tell you the truth, one thing about sci-fi is it always explores, dare we say it, politics and other hard things and situations, and now recently SJW topics on the CW, if anything, but we'll go about those when we ever get to the sci-fi of CW, which I'm planning on doing a whole lot of episodes on different topics. You may like me, you may not. It's a totally new crowd from what I'm used to. But let's move on. So, this Deadly Assassin, 1976. 1976 was definitely one of the best eras, and it's also the hardest to find these episodes, but Tom Baker's era of the Doctor is the Doctor that I grew up with. Even though I was born in 77, this was the Doctor I seen on BBC all the time. The Doctor had never been a more implacable foe than Mary Whitehouse, the British moral crusader who spent decades fighting against smut and violence on TV. Sounds like Al Gore. Okay, no, nothing about politics here. But Doctor Who was a frequent target of the Clean Up TV pressure group. Oh, this person was actually real. Okay, Mary Whitehouse was a real person. I thought it was an actual Doctor Who villain. But Doctor Who was a frequent target of the Clean Up TV pressure group, especially during Tom Baker's era, when it must be said the show was particularly bloodthirsty. Bloodthirsty. But without a little death, what kind of sci-fi do you have? Now, Whitehouse was the most upset by the cliffhanger ending on the episode 3 of The Deadly Assassin, which ended with Tom Baker's head underwater moments from drowning. Whitehouse claimed the program The program contains some of the sickest and most horrific material ever seen on children's television, and said it represented a new barrier broken. Hey, if you don't want your children to see things, one, you watch it before the child. I don't know, it's 1976, so I don't know. It's not like you tape it as much back then. Or two, don't let your children watch it. Really? I mean, come on. Moving on. Deep Breath 2014. 2014. Peter Capaldi's very first episode triggered much attention on Twitter and 6 complaints to Ofcom for a kiss shared between Madame Vassera and her wife Jenny Flint. Viewers complained about the blatant gay agenda, but were slightly less bothered than one half of the couple was a space lizard from the dawn of time. Let me show you this. They were worried about a lesbian kiss from a space lizard with a human. Nobody cared about that. They were more worried about Vastra kissing another woman. But not the lizard part. Not the lizard part. Definitely not the lizard part. Moving on. Dalek 2005. Daleks are a rum lot, but the British Board of Film Classifications, BBFC, felt sorry for one when releasing their first new Who appearance on DVD, awarding the episode a 12 rating, meaning only children 12 and older should watch it. And the BBFC objected to a scene where Christopher Eccleston's doctor tortures the captive Dalek with electricity. What's a little wrong with a little shock therapy for a robot? Here's the robot. In the statement, the organization said, "We are concerned about the role models for children using the sort of tactics that Dr. Hugh used against the Dalek. If that was transferred into the playground, it would be something we would want to tackle." First of all, the Dalek runs around with a plunger on its arm and a egg beater or whatever cake batter beater, and runs around going, "Exterminate, exterminate, exterminate." You're not worried about how it just zaps people and kills people, but you're more worried about Doctor Who, the hero of the story, electrocuting a robot. A robot. Well, it does have some weird looking, disgusting thing inside of it that you do feel sorry about. And the playground? Who's electrifying kids on a playground? All right, so moving on. The Talons of Weng-Chiang. Oh boy, 1977. This one definitely wouldn't last right now. Just look at this and tell me that's not controversial. So the Talons of Weng-Chiang, 1977, casting white actors as other ethnicities was surprisingly common just a few decades ago. Though today the Talons of Weng-Chiang bada bing bing, which saw white actors use makeup to portray Chinese characters and contains the use of racial slurs, is one of Who's most controversial episodes. And in fact, in 2020, BritBox added a trigger warning to the serial, noting that it contains stereotypes that some may find offensive. Now, a BritBox source told the RadioTimes.com that BritBox provides a wide variety of programming from different decades for our subscribers to choose from. Some of this content reflects the times and attitudes of the time in which these programs were made. Appropriate warnings were on the site to flag sensitive material and enable our subscribers to make their own choices as to what they watch. Yes, this is what we run into, folks. Racial slurs and things in the past. Just look at the... Oh, God, I'm getting political. Look in the past of the Jeffersons and All in the Family. Oh, my God. Recently, they wanted to take away a episode of Golden Girls because they happen to be in mud baths and they might have been in blackface. So they took that episode away, which made no sense because if you thought about it, if you saw the episode, it was about combating racism, and you found out the mom, who was black, was more racist than the white people, and it's kind of weird, but at the end of the story, they sat down at the table, and it had nothing really to do with race. That's what they thought it had to do. It had the fact that their son, Dorothy's son, was younger than who he was dating, which is a woman that was black and who was older. And that was all it had to do with it. That, these old episodes people remove. It's ridiculous. All right, moving on. The Stolen Earth, 2008. Oh, what a great era. You don't get more extra directory than the TARDIS, TARDIS. So fans were thrilled when its phone number flashed on screen in this David Tennant episode. More than 2,500 people supposedly tried to call the number 07700900461. Unless you live in America and we don't know what the hell you're talking about. Expected me to be put through to the Time Lord. Unfortunately to them, it was chosen from a list of safe disconnected numbers, meaning all they got was a dial tone or automated message. Boo! Now, folks, we know that when they do put telephone numbers for you to call, they usually go to actual recordings. It's kind of neat. I think they've got one on Constantine where you call and it's Constantine's number you call. But anybody who don't know who Matt Smith is, Matt Smith, right there. One of the greatest. Definitely one of the greatest doctors. So then there's Vengeance on Varos, 1985. Oh, there's a clip here. Let's go to that. We can bring it up. Oh boy. Now, first impression looking at that, I would not want the acid bath, that's for sure. So the Doctor has a dark side, of course, but should he or she ever met our death? Plenty of fans didn't think so after the serial saw a couple of guards tumble into a vat of acid with Colin Baker's Doctor partially to blame as he quipped, "Forgive me if I don't join you." This scene, as well as scenes of genetic experiments and attempted hangings, led to plenty of complaints to the Radio Times letters page and points of view, with Mark Campbell's Doctor Who, The Complete Guide, later describing it as notorious and deeply problematic. Taking a look at it, it looks kind of Hitler-esque to me. And like you're saying, genetics. So then there comes Dark Water, 2014, with Missy. Oh, Missy. And if you don't know who Missy is, she's the female version of the Mistress. So one of the darkest controversies came when Michelle Gomez's Missy revealed death was, well, a fate worse than death. The implication that every corpse remained conscious and capable of experiencing pain, including its own cremation, was off-putting to say the least, and triggered hundreds of complaints to Ofcom. Doctor Who is a family drama with a long tradition of tackling some of the more fundamental questions about life and death, the BBC said in a statement. We were mindful of the themes explored in Dark Water and are confident that they are appropriate in the context of the heightened sci-fi world of the show. And here we thought it was just about bow ties and technobabble. So it says this article was actually originally published in 2014, but hey, it looks like they did some add-ons because we had a 2020. That's what the Radio Times has said. Those are some of the most controversial episodes. And again, something not political. Kinda. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. We're going to do a lot more podcasts soon, and I hope you enjoy. Please share and join my YouTube channel. And we're on. First of all, we're on. Let me do the rundown real quick. We are. I can just bring it up. It's a little crude way of bringing it up here. Before we go, ugh, you can't even see it. Why bother? Something Not Political podcast is on website is somethingnotpolitical.com. Its Twitter is at somethingnotpol because you can only have 15 characters. Telegram at somethingnotpolitical, or you want a website link, it's t.me/somethingnotpolitical. On Instagram, you can look for Something Not Political. On Facebook, you go to facebook.com/somethingnotpolitical. Facebook group, it's groups/something not political. See a theme here? And we're even on Spreaker, which is spreaker.com/show/something-not/political. And then a YouTube channel, just look up Something Not Political. It's a whole bunch of garbage goop. I've got to be able to customize it once I get subscribers. So please subscribe to the podcast. Hashtag Something Not Political. And I'm thanking you for tuning in. Let's see if I can close you out with a closeout real quick. I don't really have one set up for this one, but definitely subscribe. God bless everybody. Peace. Live long and prosper.